No, I know. I agree. I'm just saying that
Oh,
there's
dear
sometimes you
God.
have to give a little bit.
Oh boy.
And you
That
also
one there, that's your laptop monitor.
Yeah. Revit's broken. So
What?
let's
you
because I
also
did that
hey,
with
here's the
it
problem.
open.
Go back to that
No,
display property.
It is any one of us would tell you the same thing. That's because when you got that changed monitor, you got to be real careful in how you fill it up in the screen. If you double
You
click
need
on
the
it,
number 1 and the number 2 box to line up at the top.
no, they don't have to. Not anymore. They fixed that in the
Oh, they
Windows
did?
a while ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tell us what's happening.
So when I minimize this, do you see the corner of Revit right here?
Yeah, you want to drag that over onto the big part.
It's not even letting me. The whole big screen right now is just white.
Yep, go down. Yep, Misty has this problem all the time. Eric's had this problem. Everyone has this problem. Go down to the Revit. Let's see. Can you see my screen? Hold on. Gotta find my cursor. Okay, so what you got to do is you have to come down here to Revit, and then come up to that little X and hit that X and make it crash out. Did you see where I went?
It's not even giving me my taskbar right now. Let me just end Revit with the task manager.
You can do that as well.
They just restart it.
And then restart it.
End task. Oh, she's getting mad. Okay. Back to square one.
Try it again. So that screen right there, that's those who dare. For those who dare, is that your laptop? Let's see what he's doing. Tyler's got something coming up. And see, that's the hard part. Is it's so hard to talk someone through these kind of problems when you can't see what's going on their screen. Did we lose you, Tyler?
No, they're both just white right now.
Takes that long for your Revit to open?
Well, they're both white right now. I don't think it's loading anymore. I think it's...
All right. Go back to your display settings. Move. Yep, go up and move the big monitor to the other side and lined up at the bottom. And hit apply. Now, it might be a little bit backwards, but you should be able to now see something better.
Can I do that, but put it to the other side, maybe? But keep it lined up?
Sometimes you can. The idea is just
that worked.
The idea is you just got to move it to get that to line up. It's because, and Eric was really right. There used to be a bug where he couldn't fix it. All right, you're sharing. You're going to share the other screen?
I'm going to try.
Yep. Okay. Now you're in the money. So, go ahead and open up your challenge one. That's your oil change place.
No, that was something I kind of messed with for probably an hour at work.
Well, good. They giving you a hard time about doing that?
Yeah, I haven't done it in a while because of it.
Because they gave you a hard time?
Yep.
Yeah, that happens.
Oh, yeah. I demoted myself Friday at work.
What happened? You never did tell us.
I had some spitback from my crew. And at one point I was told that their foreman doesn't even know what's going on out in the field, referring to me. To which I told them, that's why I have you guys. If you have a problem, you're supposed to call me and I'm supposed to come help you. I don't want you guys struggling, talking shit about me behind my back for no reason when you know I'm more than happy to help. So I just got a bunch of spit back and I said, forget it. I'll just step down. And then I was told I can't step down. Dan said, from now on, all I'm supposed to do is make sure whatever gets delivered is there. Beyond that, everybody else can grab their own shit, run their own equipment. I said, okay. Sounds good.
Well, that's good.
And then I packed all my personal shit up in the office and said, somebody else can have this fucking desk.
Well, be careful not to be too hasty. So, how much does Dan think you're going to be working? When does he think things are going to slow down for you?
He's not telling me.
When does your gut tell you?
Any fucking day. I might be on the next layoff list. That's what my gut tells me.
Well, you saw what I titled this meeting, right?
Yeah, fasten your seatbelts, night surprise.
Yep. That's because I was told that I should be getting some drawings after Labor Day. So that means it's time to fucking draw. It's time for you to decide to either piss or get off the pot. Comprende? I'm going to need to know how many hours you're going to be able to put in.
I hear you.
When I get back from Montana. So you got a good 3-4 weeks. If you get caught in that layoff, well, then I guess you could be able to give a lot of hours.
Yep.
So I want to get into drawing to try to round out, because we've covered all the commands, but I want to sort of show you the flow. I want to show you a couple families. We're trying to, I don't know. It's not going to break my heart if we kick off a little bit early, but I'd like to get maybe an hour or two in at a minimum. Okay? So,
I got you.
When you got that exterior of that building, if I told you they wanted to put a water table around the building, maybe a limestone water table, would you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Okay. Eric and Misty, I'm pretty sure would. Eric, Misty,
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how you would recommend putting that water table? If I had a 3-foot tall water table to go around the front of the building, how would you do that?
I'd probably use either make the wall component or just do a sweep, just add a sweep all the way around.
Which one?
I would do the sweep. I'd want to keep things
How
simple.
about you, Eric? Would you agree
Probably
with
the
that?
sweep. Probably the sweep.
All right. So what they're talking about is they'd come in here and they'd do this wall sweep, right? Which you can do in your standard template. And that's why you got 2 screens, because what's going to happen is I want you to repeat what I'm doing. All I did is I'm just sticking a water table, as I said, only around the front of my building. We're going to notice the nice thing about the sweep is it's breaking out for these doors, and it's breaking out where the curtain wall intersects the wall. When I say cancel, it then applies it, and there's my water table, or the beginnings of my water table. In order to make that thing work, what we do is we go to edit type, and we need to give it a profile. Okay? So to do that, you just go File, New, Family, and you come down here to Profile, and I would pick the one that just says Profile. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, I just told you I have this water table that's 3 feet tall. So I just come in here and I go 3 feet. You'll see that I could have typed in a 3. I could have done it a couple different ways. But for me right now, I'm just going to throw this 3 foot in here. I'm going to notice the name of this family is family number 2. This is the second family I've created in this version of Revit that I've opened. And all I'm going to do don't get into all this naming and stuff until you've got it working. So I simply load it into the project. Now, when I make this into my water table, see it's a wall sweep cornice. I'm actually going to duplicate that, and this is going to be my water table. Oh, spelled it wrong. Like it matters. And instead of using the default profile, I'm going to use that family too. See how that made a 3-foot tall water table? Now, what I can do is typically this water table is not going to be 1'8" off the bottom. It's going to be right down at the floor level, maybe a little bit lower. But you see, now I've got this water table. Now, one of the neat things you could do is you could say, right there where we added the family, we could also add a material. Just to stick, well, I'll be honest, I don't look for the stuff in here. I always do this. Duplicate, I would call this masonry dash CMU. Concrete masonry unit. Remember, I always copy that, and then I turn this checkbox on, and then I go to appearance. I make the information. Oh, it's already showing because I was still in that thing. I duplicate the material. I paste that name. I pick my color. Oh, I'm thinking that we'll go something in this tannish. Let's go this way just a little bit, like right in there. And I said it was a CMU, so what I'm going to do is on the background pattern. Nope, I'm sorry, on the foreground pattern. Why did I say not the background pattern, anyone? Because you can't do a model pattern in the background. The foreground's the only one that can handle the model. And then we would want one down here. We'd hope that there's
because it's more of a detailing component than it is a modeling component at that point.
That's because the foreground one is the one you can scale. That's like your standing seam, your brick or whatever.
Yeah.
And this I'm going to use that block. Okay. And then I'm actually even going to say, you know what, in the background, I think I'd actually like to even add a little bit of texture to it. So now it's going to have this running bond and the color. Right? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Now, because I haven't renamed that profile yet, I could still come in here and say, you know what? At the top of this, and that would actually probably be at 8 inches. At the top of this, what you'd have, 8 inches. Now, you know what? We'll make it a 4-inch one. You could put something like that, or maybe you come in and you put something like this one. Maybe like that, or maybe all the way out. Load that into the project, and now you get this water table at the bottom. When I'm done, and I'm feeling pretty good with what I've drawn, I need to make sure I come down here to families, right? Well, families, annotations. I come down to profile, and I should find that family number 2. And then what I recommend you do is, now that I'm happy with it, you name it, water table. Once you name it once, I recommend naming both of them. And what happens is, now I'm ready for my next one. So now I could come in here and I could do a wall sweep. And maybe this one here is one up that goes across the heads of all these windows. So you'll notice I'm staying in that command and I'm rotating around my building.
Isn't there usually a thing that tells you you're adding a wall in the little between the two, the view and and the buttons.
Right up here, it says restart wall sweep if you want to start another one.
Okay.
But the gist of it is, Tyler, if you notice, I'm going all the way around my building. I'm not worried about where it is and what the shape is. I'm worried about where this thing goes. Is all I'm worried about.
Brian, I apologize. I took a call and I wanted to ask you about the water table thing.
Sure.
You can finish this and then we'll go back around to it.
Oh, and it stopped. I missed the wall, so it stopped. Actually, probably what you find is I hit an inside wall.
Yep.
You can always come back, and now you can do the add walls like Eric was talking about. And sometimes it's actually easier because then it's just picking the whole wall. You don't have to pick the edge.
Could you do this
All
in
right.
plan view and be able to select the outside wall correctly?
It's a challenge.
That's what I thought.
It's a challenge. You can. But you see, when I first learned how to do this, I was like, holy heck, I could knock out buildings in a day. I could knock out most buildings from a photograph in a day. And
All right, so
go ahead.
My question on the water table, that's all one profile?
Yep. Sometimes you'll do that as two profiles. If you
Okay,
want
out of curiosity, that's what I was going to say. If the cap is a different material, then
Yep.
you would have to do a different shape.
And I'll get into some of the finer editing of that because I want Tyler and anyone who stumbles across this thing to know that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this one here, maybe this, and I'm going to call this the head band. And I'm thinking that this is going to have a material. Here I could just duplicate and I'll have most of that stuff. And this is my GFRC, let's call it. Control C. I then go to the appearance. I duplicate. I put that name in here. And now you'll find I only have to change this color. All right. And maybe I know that it doesn't have this. Well, maybe it does have this block. Who knows? Maybe it does have this block. So we say, okay, and okay, that gets it to a nice material. But I say, this thing is going to be 1'4". So let's go ahead and make this 1'4". Let's see. (1'4) being that coarse dimension. I load him in. I then take this guy, that's the headband, and I'm going to put a different profile on him, which is called Family 2. And it now looks like that. See, now what I can do is I might be able to go. Do I want that to go over top of these windows? Watch what happens when I get to the top. Blink. See how it's a continuous band all the way around there? Or maybe I don't want that to go all the way up that high. That's at 12 foot. Maybe I only want this to be at the top of the doors. 7'2". You with me?
Gotcha.
So then the next thing you would do is just like the wall sweep, you would be doing some roof fascias. And see what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bang right around here. Remember if you could tab that. When do you guys want to try a tab? Do you see how far away I am when I'm doing this? Okay. Now what happens is that one is very tricky for you to see. That's just this little guy up here, right? But what happens is that one we're going to make more like this. Let's see. We come out to, about that far. We're going to pull this down. You know what an OG is, Tyler?
An original gangsta.
Yeah, I figured you might say something like that. An OG is something like this. This comes up here at about 45 degrees. And he goes that way. Then he comes back on himself. See that shape? That's an OG.
I got you.
And I'm basically going to be making something funky to that shape. You might, and remember, you can always come back and edit this thing. But the idea is we load that into the project, just like the wall sweep, edit type. Oh, look at that. It's got a profile right there. I know my profile that I'm after is family 2. I could put a material on it and I could say, look at that. And what that did is that showed me, hey, Brian, you'd be much better off if all of this, watch how I did this. I highlighted all this. This is the tough part. This is the part that without seeing it, you can never explain it to somebody. When I drag, right, I'm going to move this stuff down. Well, if I drag here, it's not going to know anything. If I drag while I'm highlighted over this line, watch. Oh, look at that. Look at
Keeps
that.
a reference plane.
It keeps that reference plane. That's exactly right. And see, I put that just a little bit below so that when
So
it
it'll be
comes
just
in,
a little below.
right, you got it. You got it. Now what ends up happening is, remember the sheets we made on Thursday, all of a sudden, they're not looking too bad. They're actually looking like a drawing. Anybody see what I did? That other family 2, okay? I did not name that other family 2. I did not rename it to be the top band. So now I'm like, oh, doggone it. Now I got to go back and fix that band that I put in there. But I really don't need to go fix the band. All I need to do, how could you do this? Let's see. I guess you could just come back here and all right, this is a crazy methodology. This is how I've come up with it. So the family 2 is the problem. Well, what did I just do to the family 2? I made it my roof fascia.
Fascia
So I'm gonna,
as well.
right. So I'm going to name this roof fascia. This will trip you out. All right. Now what you'd see is if I went back to this wall sweep, notice how it says roof fascia. Well, if I went back to my plan or my profile and just did a bunch of undos till I was back to there and loaded that in the project, you would notice this time it didn't rename it. It didn't replace the roof fascia. And all I have to do is say, dummy, Brian, you got to remember to take him to family 2. Right? That would have been where it was supposed to go. And then over here at family 2, I need to name this. Oops. Top band. Did you catch how I did that? So the idea is what most people don't realize is I just keep that one profile family open and I go make all of my sweeps, maybe my curtain wall mullions, because understand that the curtain wall mullions can use those same things, right? See, this is a curtain wall mullion, and I can come in here and I could say edit type, and I could say, why no duplicate? Because it's pinned. That's why. Yep. And I could name, I'm just going to name it gibberish, and you would notice that a curtain wall should have a profile. Rectangular mullion. Right there's the profile. And see, I could make that either my roof fascia, right? You see how that made that into that shape?
Yeah.
So We need gutters. We need, and the gutter one's pretty much built up, but I'd actually like you to build something that really looked like a gutter. I'd like you to build some banding. I'd like you to put some color to your building. I'd like you to develop your elevations and put those on sheets for that building.
Okay.
So you didn't draw anything? You weren't drawing while we were doing that?
Oh no, I started and I got 3 clicks in and I couldn't keep up.
That's fine. That's not a problem. You got to watch it, and you can go back and watch it, and Ginger can watch it. You guys need to get a building with some architectural vocabulary. Now let me show you some things about these sweeps. These sweeps, one of the things that you can do is there's a little blue dot right down there so that you can shorten those if you need to shorten them. I don't recommend that that's a good thing. Okay, I'm not saying that that's good, but it can really solve some of your problems. There's also a modify returns. Anyone know what that does? It sweeps that thing back. So if I go like this and I hit that edge, you see how it returned it back? See how it returned it back? So if I was to do that over here,
It wrapped the mullion a little.
it wrapped the mullion a little bit, and now there's a blue dot down there that I can drag back, and I could take that back to the face of my window. See, most people don't know that.
Because if you think about it, Tyler, you can't click that as add another wall because it's the same wall. It's just the cutout portion of it.
Yeah.
So it's a way to cheat that.
It's a way to cheat that. The one that's really crazy is if I take this guy and I say create similar and I hit this wall, you would not think this, but if I put this thing down at 0, anyone know what's going to happen?
It's going to connect.
It's going to connect those corners. That's true up here too. So that means up here, believe it or not, I can actually break and break. Oh, you see what they don't have in the roof command? Returns.
Oh.
You can't do the return like you can do the return on the wall sweep.
It's because it wants that corner.
Because it needs to have an actual line. Now, what you can do that you would not think is you could come in here and you could say create similar. A roof fascia can be added to another roof fascia. And then if you were to restart it, you could add it to another roof fascia. So what has to happen is if you want to do a return here, you need to put a little bit of a roof so that that roof fascia can go to it. And what a lot of times they call these lamb chops on a building, they would typically be right here. Because what ends up happening is as you do that roof fascia, this would be an absolute no-go. You cannot use the same roof fascia for here and here. That's not how they build that. Okay? What you actually have, oh man, I got too many of them, is, and if you read enough drawings, and even when I used to draw the drawings and draw the details, I didn't even know the difference. But what you have is you make one roof fascia, and then you come back and you add another type of fascia, okay? So this would mean I would need to do a duplicate, and this guy would actually end up being named something like rake fascia. And in order to get that thing to work, what you're going to end up doing is putting those two together. Because what happens is this condition on the soffit edge is not the same as on the flat rake edge. And I don't want to go deep into that. What I want you to understand is you should be able to, what I call, articulate a building. You should be able to make the outside of a building. Try to make some columns. Those are going to be some kind of family right here in order to make those columns. You could use one that they've provided or create your own. I don't care. The last thing that I wanted to, or the other thing that I wanted to do was, if we look at these floor plans, what happens is generally a person knows how much area they're going to build, right? Because they have a budget for their building, and we might look up and it might be $300 a square foot or $220 a square foot. So you get an idea of how much building you can have. Well, the one way that Autodesk does that is by what's called an area. Okay. Now, in order to do an area, if you remember, I skipped over those guys. What you really do is first you make a view named plan view area plan. Okay. Do I want to automatically? Yeah, sounds great. And what it did, it was that, you see how those purple lines are in there? So you remember on your job, you might have an office area for the oil change, and then you might have a garage
parts
area.
room. Yeah.
Well, no, this is not about the rooms. This is about the overall area. So maybe all of this part of the building is administration, and all of this is classrooms. Okay, because that's what an area plan's for. So what you would end up doing is you would come in and you'd put in an area boundary line, and we can freehand draw that. And we would come over and do this. These purple lines, they're meant to overlap at the corners. They're meant to not print. What they're trying to do is you then put in this area, and area. And this is where I'm saying admin classroom. And see, now I know how big my building is. Now, what a lot of program designers do, and I'm thinking more, this is for a friend of mine, Terry, if you watch this is for you, is he's always said that Revit would really be nice if he could do bubble diagrams. What he's thinking about for a hospital is he needs this, he knows he needs this much square foot for the nursing area, and this much square foot for the patient rooms, and this much square foot for the restrooms. All of that is sort of like in a formula. So what I wanted to do, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that profile. Well, you know what? I'm going to go to that profile. Remember, the profile is a weird one. To create, there's no extrusions. This is a 2D family. Well, we're going to create another type of 2D family, very close to the profile, but the profile is a super powerful one because it gets applied to walls, sweeps, roof sweeps, structural turn downs, the structural footing. It gets applied to so many different things. What I want to do is I need a file, new, family, and I'm after a detail component, which they call a detail item. You'll notice there's a few more buttons up here, just a couple. Like you couldn't put the symbol, and I don't believe you could put the filled regions. You could put another detail component in. There's a couple little things, but what I'm trying to build is I want to build something parametric family. Okay. We've talked about this once or twice already, but I want to get deeper into it. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, I'm going to start my box off at 4 foot by 4 foot. Right. So I go like that. And I go like that. And then I'm going to dimension those two things so that I can make them into parameters. And this one here, to make it into a parameter, I'm right up here at the top. I simply say width. And this guy's going to be the depth. Hey, Ginger. So we've actually, like I said, we've played with this when we were doing diffusers and stuff. This allows you to make that adjustment. So what happens now is if I come up here to family types, I can put a different depth or a different width. See, I can make this 2 by 3. All right. Now, what someone like Terry is looking for is he'd like a bubble in there. So we could create a filled region just like this. Now, notice how I had the reference planes and then I created this object, right? And I'm going to make this a solid fill. Right here is a solid fill. Going to be interested how I'm going to handle those colors, though. That's going to be a challenge for us to tackle. But for right now, we got something like that. Now, what you would realize, because we drew the reference planes in there first, that made that thing stick to those reference planes. Some people would think you would need to lock it down, but you notice that that thing automatically grows. Okay? And if I was to say that an average room was, let's say, 15 by 15, going back, Ginger. Can't tell if anyone's not in.
I'm here.
So one of the big problems that happens is, do you see all my reference planes? Do you see how now I'm going to hide that shape, and you're going to see that these reference planes aren't sort of joined. What I can do is I could pick on a reference plane. I could select, oh, no, I guess I can't. I could do it this way. I could pick everything and say just the reference planes. And this is one that you're going to want to try. You go over top. You see how the line is blue? And you right click and you say maximize 3D extents. And that's not what I was expecting. How about if you don't have that stuff on? Reference planes. Maximize 3D extents. Seriously? Well, that's nonsense. Oh, he's pinned. I'm not going to overly worry about that right now. What I'm going to try to do is I'm trying to create this guide. When you're a planner, you're saying you can afford this much square footage, then he's deciding how much of that needs to go to patient rooms, how much of that needs to go to toilets, how much of that needs to go to nurse support areas. You know, they sort of have a formula for that. So what we want to do is we want to make another parameter that's really going to drive all this. So I come down here and I say, give me another parameter, and this one's going to be the target area. And it's going to be an instance. It's not going to be a length. Remember, you will have already fallen for the mistake of hitting enter and wishing you didn't. Because if you hit OK already, then you won't be able to change that from a length to an area. And me personally, let's put this under construction. Okay. So if that is an instance, both of these guys need to be an instance. You see how it has the word default after it? That tells me it's an instance. So that means these two, I need to make an instance. And the reason I'm doing all this work is so that I can say that the target area, Control C, is actually equal to, let's make this a number like 120. The depth is actually going to be equal to the target area divided by the width. And what this does is now when I push this into my project, I get this little bubble area. And you'll notice that as I change this, you see how it's keeping the area the same. And if I said that the patient rooms are going to be 450 square feet, now I can sort of say, okay, I could put one operating room here and I could put another operating room here. So the challenge is I want everyone to try to make that family, and I'd like to see it a little bit smarter than it is right now. I'd like to be able to change its color somehow, number one. Number two, I think you should have fillets in the corner. Let's do a 4 foot. Nope, too big. Let's do a 2 foot. Okay. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to error trap this, because what's going to happen is when I load that into the project, everything's going to work good until I stretch this down just about far enough. You see how it turned into a no smoking symbol? That means if I let that go, it says it can't make that family type because
Didn't have 4 feet for the curves.
didn't have 4 feet for the curves. Exactly. And what we're going to do is a little error trap. Okay. So what we do is we edit this boundary. We come in here and we put a dimension. Dimension. Not that kind of dimension, but a radius dimension. 1, 2, 3, and 4. These we can pick all 4 of them, and we're going to call this the radius. And then we're going to write ourselves, actually, I let radius stay in dimensions. Typically, things that are going to be calculated for me, I put them in the other category so they fall below everything. So that and I'll be honest, I'd probably do the same thing for the depth. But what we need to do is we need to tell the computer in this formula, let's see, if Control C. No, let me get the other one. Control C. And it goes like this. If, parentheses, Control V, if the width is less than 2 foot 2 inches, then you get a comma. Actually, I lied to you. This here parentheses, that parentheses is in the wrong space. It looks like that. If your if statement, width is less than 2 foot 2 inches, what to do if that's true? Then that means that the radius is going to go down to, watch this, the width divided by 4. And if it's false, then the number is going to be 2 foot 0. And then I close parentheses. See how that's a 2 foot? As soon as I make this thing, this width down here, 1'8", notice how my radius turned to 5 inches. But if the radius is 2 foot, it's going to be 6 inches. If it goes to 2'2", oh, and that number needs to be 4'2", not 2'2". And then I think that would work. So it's not till you get greater than 4'2". So 4'3", everything above 4'3", that would be a 2 foot radius. Now we actually have to do this as a double if statement. And I'd like you to try to do that. I want to see if you can program to write that parametric formula a little more sophisticated. Okay. You catch what it was giving me there? It said that needs to be an instance parameter. You can't do it. Now we could load this into the project. And you would now see, oh, I broke it somewhere. I think it should have been related to the depth. Where did I break it at? Say 7 foot. There's my problem right there. Okay. This needs to be over here. Right now, I notice I didn't pin that. I didn't lock that, guys. Let's see if it works. So now if I go 9 foot, it is now working again. That's called flexing your family. And you're trying to see if you can get that guy to work. And see what happens is if we get way out here, till it's a real skinny, you'll notice the radius is changed so it didn't eat itself. And I could keep doing more. I could make this thing 4 inches. And you'll notice it just keeps adjusting that radius and doesn't blow itself up. The idea is he could then say, I got about an average of a 20 foot. He could try fitting that in. He could say, okay, now I've got another space, and this space requires 880 feet. And see what a bubble diagram does is it basically allows you to come in here and snap these guys together. And then you trace it with your walls and decide where your building's going to be according to the areas that you need it to program. Okay? So, questions, please. That was some heavy shit we just got into.
I was gonna say I'm fried.
You're fried.
I'll have to watch that step by step to replicate it, but yeah.
Well,
Thankfully that's an option.
yeah, thankfully that's an option. I like that attitude.
And I apologize, Brian. I lost you a little bit in the middle of that because I got caught up in what I was doing here.
By all means, once again, we can luckily go back to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Recorded.
If you notice, because of those things have reference planes, there's actually a snap point there, but it's not really snapping good for me. So what I might actually like to do is to take these guys, and this here is because it's a weak reference. But I should really be making this say, this is the right side of my object, which means if I'm really good, I rename that to be the right side. And then this one here, this should be my back. And then you'll notice I just copy. And if I'm being diligent, I name that back. By doing that, okay?
Created a stronger snap.
It created a stronger snap. You see it now? You see it snapping to that other one now? It's like, boom, it pops into it.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you're doing like this, where you're going, oh, there it is. That makes sense? Now, we're going to try to push this thing right over the edge, because the last most sophisticated part of this family is going to be, I want it to tell me what the square footage is. And I want it to tell me the name of what that area is, like nursing patient rooms. Okay? Anyone got any ideas how we do that? One way that you might think out of the gate is you could annotate, tag by category, pick this object, create a detail tag, and put that detail tag on there, right? That'd be one way to do it. That's not what I'm after. What I'm after is I want that in the middle of that bubble to tell me what the heck it is live time. Eric, Misty, earn some money here. Tell me how you would do that.
Say it one more time, please. I'm sorry.
I want a tag that the information, the square footage is going to show me in there.
Okay.
If you're going to tag anything in another file, if it's not already in the family, then it needs to be a shared parameter if you're going to tag it, right?
Only
Well,
if you want to schedule it, I believe, right?
Schedule it.
No. You guys are losing me here.
Sorry.
I do not want to have to go. Okay. So what they're talking about, and actually it's a good way to do it. Tag by category. We go like this. It says, oh no, you don't have one. Now what do? I could have said, yes, I want to load one. I could come down here and I could say, oh no, I'm indoors. Let's go up to annotations and let's see if there's a detail item tag. And sure enough, I could do a detail item tag. Okay. But what's going to happen here is now we have to use those shared parameters. Okay. Which I'm not opposed to. Actually, you got to use the shared parameter no matter what. So we're going to make one. And what it's going to be is the area description and the area square footage. That's what we're going to make that. So here we go. We go into that family. It's got this stupid border around it. I'll get rid of that. Remember, I always like to do a VV and turn on my reference planes so I know what's going on, because then I can decide. And I might say, you know what? In this case, I like the fact that it's center justified. Still, always go back and make that 164 so I don't have that big nastiness. What I want that to do is be the shared parameter called area description and area or targeted area. Okay. So to do that, we're going to edit that label and we look in this list. That list doesn't have that information. So this is where we get to create a new parameter and we say, make it a shared parameter. Okay. Now I made one. You might have to actually create a shared parameter file and then it'll apply it. And then you can go in and add this stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, you'll see I have all these different types of ones. I have one here. I think Ginger just came back. I'm sure she can see it, but so if we want to add a new group, and this is going to be areas, I'll just call it area. We're going to have a new parameter, which is going to be the targeted area, and that's going to be an area value. We're going to add another one that's going to be the area description, and it's going to be a text value. So now I can do the area description, and it added it. Oh, not that. And then add another one and I could do the targeted area and add it. And I know when Jaffe first wanted me to learn this, oh man, for 6 years, I was so resistant of trying to learn this. Okay. See, so what happens now, if I stretch this out a little bit, it's going to give me the area description with the targeted area. Is it going to happen below it? Only if I put a break. Then it'll keep the two on two different lines. If I don't put that break, if the description is short enough, this will all be on one line. So I'm going to put the break in there. We're going to load this into the project. And you're going to find that it didn't fill anything out. Okay? Because those two parameters that we just put in, we did not put them in the project. That's why we made them a shared parameter. So this is where we go to the manage and we say project parameters. We need to add from a shared parameter the area description. And I'm going to put that up underneath construction just so it's together. You'll see what I'm talking about in 1 second. And this has to apply to the detail items. Okay. In order for that detail item to have that parameter, that's what I have to do. And I would do the exact same thing again for the targeted area. And I don't care where that goes. And we go to detail items. And now what you'll find is when I pick on this area, you're going to see, look, it's got a targeted area right here. Targeted area. And it's got an area description. So now you'll find if I picked on this tag and tried to type, I could type that this was the patient area. And I could put a value in there of 400. The problem is that area is not changing. It's not related to the 450 that's up here. See, if I change this to 600, that didn't change. The reason
Just make the
being,
parameter equal that other parameter.
you have to come in here and we have to look at our parameters. We don't have a targeted area.
Yes.
We don't, right? Actually, you know what? Look, it did put the targeted area in there. No. That's a lie. That's not the right targeted area. So I have to play a little game here just for 1 second, and we're going to call this number 1 divided by the width. The reason being is we have to get rid of this guy, and we need to add that other one, which is the shared parameter, the targeted area. Okay? I'm going to keep that in that construction. I liked it up there in that thing, and we're going to tell it it's an instance. Now we can take that same name. See, if I would have tried to do that copy and paste, while that value was still in there, it would have given me some errors. So you see how I got around that? I put a temporary placeholder in there. So now what ends up happening, I got targeted area divided by the width. And the reason is because I didn't have any area. Now it'll work. Load it into the project. And now you're going to see how that says 450. Create similar. 450. 450. As we come in here and we say this guy's targeted area is actually 800 feet. And this guy's targeted area is 600 feet. Okay. Now, what I don't like is I know Terry is not going to want to put those tags on there. He's going to want those tags to just show up automatically, right? by all means, this would be nursing or something like that. That is a solution, but we're going to take you to that one level higher. Okay. So one of the problems that we had was in here. Give me 1 second, guys. Ryan speaking. It is.
How are you doing today?
It's George.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Eric, talk for a minute. Let me talk to George.
All right. What am I supposed to talk about? I can't even show my screen. I actually have a question for him on what I was messing with. So, oh, perfect. So, we were talking about this a little while back where we wanted to do the stud framing with curtain walls.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got it going, but I'm dealing with a little resistance. So, but you can see, you know, I've got the stud actually shown correctly. I've got my runner tracks. You can see that, you know, you can see they're hollowed out on the bottom. So my pieces are exactly what I want. And then this one was a standalone. Remember how we did multiple curtain families, and we did one where you can insert the vertices and all that stuff the way you want, and then you did one that everything is set up.
Mm-hmm.
So on the one that everything is set up, what I was just figured out a second ago was I was trying to show that there was no panel in there. So when I did this, I said curtain panels, none, right? And I did that. Oh man, why is it doing that? Huh. When I first did that, the glass kept showing up. And what I ended up having to find out was you have to actually go to curtain wall or an empty system panel. Oop, I missed it. So don't that none, for whatever reason, it did not originally take all my glazing out. So I still had everything here with the pieces of glass in the middle. So I'm not sure exactly what causes that, but you'll see that now, at least as far as my vertical goes, I could throw all this in there and we could have the framing. I set the framing at 16 inches on center. We can do whatever they're doing. You know, some of those areas they did 24 inches. Some of those areas they had to go around our diffusers. So you have a little bit of control that way.
I like it.
Yeah. What I was telling them, Brian, did you hear that?
No, I didn't catch the part of what was driving you nuts.
So when I finished this, it was still showing me glazing.
Yep, you got to make it empty.
Okay, but watch this. So what I did first was I went in here and I said, I don't want any. I said none.
No, that doesn't work.
Why not?
I don't know. It's got to be the empty system panel.
Okay, well that's what I ended up just figuring out right as you were giving me the control.
Yeah.
And so now I've got everything pretty much set up. The only thing I'm not aware of how to accomplish at this point is to throw it in the ceiling or whatever, you know, like that.
All right.
To flip
the
it.
The bottom and the top track, are they the same profile?
No, I have a bottom and a top because if I use the same one, then they'd both be facing up.
I'm pretty sure if you make that bottom profile a little bit bigger, those studs will tuck inside of there. Can you try to do that? Can you go edit that bottom profile?
Yep. Families, profiles. Can I not edit from here?
Yeah. You gotta pick the parent family.
So you're saying just take it out a 1/16 of an inch or go even a little further?
Yeah, go a little bit and just go a little bit. Let's just see what it's gonna do.
Wow. 0 or 0.125. Load into project.
Nope.
But what if I do this?
Nah, you would want the borders continuous.
I just didn't know if it would put those down and not split the mullion, but it would, or not split the bottom track.
You could try that. You could try that. Vertical grid continuous.
Yeah. What would the I mean, obviously it's supposed to be down at that level, but what would the negative be to it looking like this? Because aren't we just trying to show this for coordination, or were we going to then try and
Absolutely.
get?
No, absolutely. No, you're fine with that. You're fine with that. What we have to figure out is how we add a door or a window to that. No,
Huh.
you can't add. You
Oh,
can't. Add
you would have to get a panel.
You'd have to release. You'd have to release the grid line locks. So you'd have to make another style where it's not defined every 16 inches. And then once you release them, then you'd have to play with the actual grids and you would add another grid line at the head. So
That's how I started it was I just made the free one and I actually dropped grids in, I dropped the stuff in here and cleaned it up. But it was to the point where if I had to do that on every one of these, I would lose my brain because I had to switch the bottom and, tell it to be continuous.
That's why you got to make that placeholder like you did. Go over to that wall over there, the straight wall that you had working.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do is you want to say add a grid line. Yeah. Now wait. Up at the top, one segment. Up at your contact. There you go. And all right. And see if you had those intermediates on the horizontals to be whatever your headers would be, because that's what that would end up being. That would probably be a pair of 2x6s back to back, or a pair of 2x8s. We'd have to understand that a little bit better. And then what you can do is then you can add intermediate, and you would just, right? Now the thing of it is you would then want to make that go in a couple more grids. So right. So right there, nope. Right there, you would say, nope, you got to get the grid line. Nope.
Oh, you're line. Right. Add
there
segments.
You go. Add, remove segments, and you would trace out where your door was.
What? Oh, I need to then add the mullion again?
Yep.
Because it's still split.
Right. And then the bottom ones, you would delete.
But I have to unpin them to delete them?
Yep.
Then what about the track? Because the track doesn't go across there, does it?
Exactly the same. And you could do a loop around that to grab all three of them. Unpin them and delete them.
All right. I mean, other things like this or whatever. So it is going to become intensive that we have to go back and massage all the bits and pieces, right?
No, that's where you said the most important thing, which is they don't really need to get everything exact. What we're trying to do is we're trying to show that for interference. So make that work for a roof as well, or sloped glazing, it would be called.
Okay.
If you had one of those for sloped glazing, the exact same thing for sloped glazing, why don't you work on that while I'm finish up what I was going over?
All right. I'm going to have to go get food soon.
Yeah, well, I'm not opposed to that. I don't know. Tyler sounds like his brain's already starting to smoke, and I hadn't heard from Ginger. But I figure we can wrap this up at an hour and a half. So we'll wrap this up in 20 minutes as far as I'm concerned, if you'll stick that long. Because I'm in the same boat. Tyler, you got a problem with that?
Not exactly, but I think when I'm drawing this building, it would be nice to be able to sit down and do that on here one night. That way, when I run into problems, I can ask. And
see, that's sort of why I'm saying I don't know that we need to go a whole 4 hours tonight because we're going so deep into this.
Yeah.
That'll leave us a couple more hours on our account because I want to wrap up this initial training on that account. And like I said, then I'm planning on giving you the go ahead to make the next account.
Well, I'm letting you know now. Today is my last day with Revit.
No, that's what we're gonna have to iron out as soon as I get done with this, and then that's where we're gonna end. That's why Eric's staying. So,
10-4.
all right. So I'm actually in that family. And what I want to talk about is what you would not think you could do, which is take that other family, right? The tag we made, and load it right in to that family number 3. Detail families. While loading detail item tag, only the following kinds of families can be loaded into a detail family.
Generic annotation.
Yep, that's what it would have to be. Good call. So I just have to come back here. That's going to be in this location. It wouldn't be a detail item tag. It would be a generic annotation tag, which just set me up for a terrible thing, which is manage parameters. We have those 2 parameters in there, but those 2 parameters, it doesn't know how to do that. What happens is, and this is where I'm telling you, this is a very, very high level. People that have been doing this for 10 years could struggle with this. I'm going to actually struggle with this. That's why this was a little bit of a homework assignment for my experts. Is I want that tag to be working in the detail item family so that Terry doesn't have to tag it. So, to be honest with you, I'm very, very comfortable in saying we'll cover that the next time we all get together. We can answer Tyler's questions. We can look at what you've done. If you don't get a chance to do it, don't worry about it. But this way, it'll at least give you a little bit of time for tomorrow night. Or do you guys just want to do Tuesday night? Why don't we let everybody try to draw a little bit tomorrow night? And Tuesday night, we'll get back together, answer any questions, and see if Tyler can go back and you try to repeat tonight's lesson and try to draw a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. So share your screen and let's see Tyler's screen is there. So right now, when you started, it says your trial is almost over. What I want you to do is I want you to go where your name is. Yep. Close that thing.
I'm going to have to
Go where
get
your
used to
name
this
is.
big screen.
Yep. And what's that say?
Count details, explore purchase.
Sign out.
options.
Sign out. Continue. Sign in. Nope. Don't do anything. Did you close it?
It closed, sign out, and quit was the only option.
Okay.
So open Revit again.
Yep.
Oh, and I figured out why it was loading so slow. My laptop wasn't plugged in.
Yeah, that'll do it. Now, right there with that sign in, I don't want you to use the one you were using a second ago. I want you to use one of your other ones. Do you have one?
They're all expired, but I mean, I can.
Well, let's try Spike 1 for me.
What is it?
Spike 1 for me. SPIKE number 1, number 4, me. Say next.
This is email.
Nope. Go back. Go. Just do that. Spike 1 for me and say next. Spike 1 to me. Capital S. PIKE. Number 1. Number 2.
And
Dash. Wait.
Oh.
Yeah. Spike. Spike.
1, 2.
No. Capital S. It's going to be a capital S. Spike. Dash 1 2 me. Okay. Number is 822-892. All right. What does it say? Your trial has ended.
Because that user no longer has time.
No, that user has unlimited time.
Oh,
No, we're looking for the one where you enter your serial number.
let's change license type.
Yeah. And now you just hit cancel. Hit
You have to go into activate, I thought.
hit the activate. Hit the activate. Now cancel. And close that, which is going to close the Revit. Now log in again, and this time log into the one you remembered. Switch user. One day left.
I'll be honest, there is something to, I think, having to wait a little bit, because if you remember the one time that we did it, it did not work, but the next day when I logged in, it was going.
Yep. No. I think what you wanted to do back there was it can't enter that serial number and then cancel.
The bogus one?
No, not the bogus one.
Your good one.
No, just hit the button that says enter serial number and then cancel.
You want to try? You want me to do the same thing?
Do the same thing. You heard what the username and the password was.
Where do you change that? Up in the top here?
Yep.
It's not letting me do anything with this. Do I have to close this?
No, you got to close that window.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is I just want you to do a switch user.
Manage license, maybe? No. I don't see switch loser.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right underneath the Rogue logo, so I can't see it.
I think account details, maybe?
Yep.
Edit.
No,
that's not it.
That's not it.
I don't want to use sign out and quit. I know that.
That's what they changed.
That's how they did it. There used to be a switch user here.
Yep.
All right, well, let's try it. Because then when I open it, it's going to force me to pick a new user. Now I want to switch to my other one. Or do I want to use the Spike one as well?
You can use your other one. Just use your other one if you know it. Switch user. Switch user.
Oh, I need to switch back here.
No. Yeah, there was a button that said switch user.
Sorry.
Well, I'm telling you, when you guys get it right, it'll work. What I'm telling you works. Change license type. Switch user.
Oh, there it is. The next time you start, you will need to enter. So I'm now logging back in as the other one?
Yep.
The original one, the one that was working.
No. I think what you missed, the step you missed, is you switch to user to your other user, then you say activate.
Yeah, correct. But you
then,
told me to click switch user, correct?
Yes, but when you do the switch user, then you got to go to that there was an activate button. Try it.
Okay. Let me log in as the other user or the second user.
Yep. Once you get the 3-card Monte game of it, then it's a piece of cake. But it's really hard to explain this to a person. Right? I think that's all you have to do is.
So we don't go into activate?
You can hit activate. That gives you a serial number, and now you hit the cancel.
Close.
Yep.
Then get out, and it's going to shut down, and then I'm going to log in as the other guy again.
Yep.
I don't think that logged me out. So when this opens up, I do switch user. I honestly think you have to use that AutoCAD login thing that runs on the side somewhere and do the change of user there. Yeah, that's where they move switched user to.
Yep. You're exactly right.
Now I need this. Nope, I need this information. Come to Papa. Nope, 3 days.
Yeah.
But I really think that when I log in tomorrow, I'll be cleared unless they've adjusted something.
Well, and if they've adjusted something, then what we need to do is we need to understand a little bit better about making an email and a fake phone number.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. I mean, or you could rent the software. I don't care which one. I have no problem paying for that spoofing software for the phone number.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The only reason I say that is because Autodesk has now put me in a position where now that doesn't work anymore, now I can't even load my software on any other machines, which I'm going to have to get a call into them. Even though I own the software, they won't let me load it on any machines.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't play fair, why the fuck should I?
Yeah.
Right? Tyler, were you trying mine again?
Yeah, I was going to try and trick it one more time.
All right, that next number is 830169.
So this is the one you said that owns it, correct?
Yeah, that username right there actually owns the software.
All right, so what is the serial number, if you happen to know, that matches the product key?
All right. Hold on, I got to go to the about.
Because if this one owns it, the serial number should match this email, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I'm with you. Manage license. It is 399 726 098 39. And the product key is 765L1. And now here's the thing. Now here's the thing that we all need to understand. This is because I'm going to Montana for 4 weeks. There should be no reason that you can't use my seat of my software,
Correct.
right? And you see what it says? Limit exceeded.
Well, that's because you're logged into yours right now.
No, it says
No,
that
it's
on
saying
my-
it's not valuable for any other computers that he buys. It's only good for the one he bought it on, which is complete and utter
wow.
bullshit.
Because computers never die.
Yeah, exactly. And they're telling you need to transfer the license, which is an impossible thing to do. That's not available.
I would sue them. I know that's bull, but that's
Has anyone have any of you guys ever watched Louis Rossman? Louis Rossman out of New York.
I don't think so.
He's real big. He started like me. Like he's got so much in common with me. He started like a wingnut fixing computers. What's that? What happened? Yeah.
So see how to transfer standalone, and then it's like, yeah, no, we don't do that.
I already did that. Yeah, exactly. And you know what they're going to then say? We don't support that software anymore. So back to Louis Rossman. I'll be glad to send you guys some of his YouTube videos if you'd like. But he's real big in this right to repair. Have you ever heard of right to repair? That's like a John Deere tractor.
Or your iPhone.
Or your
Ferrari. Yeah, all the same guys.
He is real big, and meeting with the politicians, he's not gaining any ground. They're doing the same hand job to him that they're going to do to anybody. But he has been really into it, and he's covered the Autodesk software 3 or 4 times because this is exactly that kind of problem. You own the software. They told me I could trade it in to do a subscription, or I could keep my software. Well, I guess I'm never allowed to upgrade my computer. No, that's not going to be good. So this is why doing a spoofed phone number is absolutely a legitimate way to go, because this is no longer a supported piece of software. This is 2020. They only support back to 2021.
How does public domain work for that, like it does for entertainment purposes?
I'm not sure I follow your question.
Star Wars came out in the 70s, and they owned the rights to that forever. If you did any kind of spoofing, you had like a spoof movie, you had to get rights from them. Like just recently, certain movies from Disney came out of that copyright infringement, and now people are allowed to duplicate it at will if they want.
It's where I'm telling you that I'd recommend watching some of Louis Rossman, because his opinion is, he gets real frustrated because he doesn't mind paying for the software, but when the bootleg copy of the software can do more than the legitimate copy of the software, he's like, fuck you. Why should I have to pay and get less than if I do this? This is a little bit of that kind of overlap, Eric. So what I'm saying is they can't have their cake and eat it too. If you're going to expire the software, then you can't protect the software.
That's what I'm saying. Then the right should be that the software is free and anyone can build upon it or use it how they see fit.
That's correct. That's how I would envision it. And I'm not.
And especially if you paid for it.
Yep.
You see that, Brian?
It doesn't. It's not as easy as you think.
You would have a hell of a time getting them to give you a 2020 student license.
I'm just looking at a forum talking about this.
Yeah. Well, and that's.
I've tried that. I've tried that with my daughter's license, with my daughter's email address, who's in school, and it didn't never work for me.
Ginger's got 2 up. I don't know how she did that. Ginger, you there? Just want to make sure in case you're saying anything.
Yeah, I had a feeling this dude works for Revit. That's exactly what that is. As soon as I Googled his name, it popped up Autodesk.
Yeah, yep. So what I want to do is, you know how you were able to come up with that other number? However, we got to spoof a new email and a new number. I say we all do it together, right? Because there's no reason for you and Eric to not do it at the same doggone time. We know this, we're not working on projects, so it's not like you're really trying to steal anything from anyone. And who knows, the project may come in and be in a newer version of the software, in which case, you know, when we've got a project, we'll pay for the software. But I say on Tuesday, we answer your questions, and I'll give you, you and I'll talk tomorrow, Tyler, and I'll give you the credit card information so that you can get what we need to generate emails and phone numbers so that we can get you another month on your guys' software if you guys want to do it for another month.
The email, I think you just have to create a new Gmail, but
Yeah.
the thing is you can't use the same phone number as the backup phone number.
And Tyler had a way around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you download an app that Ginger told me about, and it generates a phone number. You pay $1.99 for the phone number, you get it, you verify your account, and then you never touch the fucking phone number again.
I never have a problem paying for that. I don't have a problem paying for that. We'll get on a regular cycle. It'll be a once a month thing. We'll do the session. And to be honest with you,